Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments. We have a lot to talk about. All right, so to get started, we're focusing on solutions here. We're focusing on ways that you can secure your residence and protection from removal. That's what I'm focusing on. So go ahead. What I would say is go ahead and put your questions in the comments. These could be general immigration questions. I'll answer them, but I do have some updates that I want to talk about. So we had a lot coming in, and if you are registered on the firm's newsletter, you should have gotten that newsletter last week, breaking down a lot going on. Also, Friday, the new registration system. So a federal judge said that yes, it can go forward. The new registration system. So it's important to know, even if you're here without your papers, but you came in with a visa. So say you overstayed your visa, but you came in with a visa. You were issued an I-94 at some point in the past, even though now it may be expired. You're applying for certain immigration benefits. That is adjustment of status. That's the I-485 and other forms. But you're going through a form of adjustment of status. So there are specific forms filed. If you are filing it for adjustment of status, then you do not need to register. You're considered registered already. Also, I believe if you came in with parole, you are paroled, you are registered. That's not the total list. I did send a message out. So this is where follow up. Please make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because I am sending updates there on important immigration matters. And sometimes, even though it's not legal advice, it's general information. It provides helpful information on the considerations you need to make on certain changes in immigration policy. Now, here with the registration, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, I'm not registering. And I totally understand, absolutely understand. Do not make sure you should be registering based on the law. And if those who do need to register within 30 days of qualifying for this. But here's the deal. This is a harder situation to consider than it looks. And the reason it is hard, and why even though I hate the idea of the registration, is some people who are applying for certain benefits, they do fall under the requirement to register. And if you're applying for certain benefits, and as they're making the decision for the benefits, if you never register for it, that could possibly come back to affect your application. So that's why it's very important to make sure you contact an attorney to fully understand what it means to register or not register. So, for example, with my clients, they're already applying for immigration benefits. We may have some people who, who are required by this new registration requirement to move forward with that registration, right? And the thing that we have to be thinking about is, how will it not registering affect their application? Because the next thing we're going to be hearing, here's what we're going to be hearing next. You failed to register, right? So in the decision letter, it's going to be, you failed to register for the required registration process. Now you're inadmissible, and we are going to go ahead and apply penalties, and they have even said criminal penalties could be involved. So now denial letters could possibly, where the person would qualify in every other way for the immigration benefit, they may now look. We have to see how this plays out, because, and this is where we have to also be balancing the obligation to advise our clients about this. We don't make those decisions for our clients. Of course, we don't make decisions for anybody that we have to advise who is in this very, very hard, tough situation. But what I do have to do is make sure that they fully understand the reason, the implications involved with not registering, right? Yes, sure as anything that this is an enforcement tool. Sure as anything, this is definitely putting immigrants between a rock and a hard place, and it's saying register, or if we find out you don't register, we're going to come after you, and now you become a priority for deportation. That's what their approach is, right? And for me, on my end, I can just imagine for somebody who believes they don't have any options to now look at this situation. So if you need assistance with figuring out what the full implications of this means, and to have further guidance on what decisions you need to make, you can always give us a call. We are a safe space, it's confidential, and we can advise you, and then you can make a fully informed decision. But for example, our clients, every client's case is different, but our clients that do require, they do require the registration based on the current court order that was issued. The thing about that is not registering means that it could actually sabotage their current pending application, right? So in one breath, our clients have already done biometrics. They're already going through an immigration process that gives them a certain level of protection while they go through it. And so that makes the registration process a little less intimidating, less nerve-wracking, because our clients know they've already applied for benefits, and not registering can actually now sabotage their chances of being approved. Because I just see this happening. Now we're going to be hearing, you qualified in every other way, but you needed to register and you didn't register, so denied, you're now inadmissible. Hi there, Karen. But every case is different. Every consideration you have to make is depending on the life you have to live, right? So this is where I say definitely get in touch with us. Let's talk it through. And the important thing is to understand now, what are your options, right? Because many of my clients, they don't need to register because they're applying for adjustment of status. So that is not a non-issue, right? So do you qualify for adjustment of status? And adjustment of status involves VAWA, applying for VAWA if you qualify for VAWA. For the T visa, with the T visa, it doesn't have the same exemption. But our clients are going through a process that they get issued bona fide determination letters that keeps them protected. So even if they are required to register, they have a certain level of protection while their process is going through. So they know that going ahead and registering is not going to be, because they've already applied for an immigration benefit. So it's not going to be one of those things where they get picked up right away. So what I say here is, don't count yourself out, and certainly don't go into the shadows. Understand your options. That's going to be the best way forward. And you can do that by talking to an attorney. such as us, to be able to understand your options, whether there are options, whether there are alternatives that we can help you to pursue. So just keep that in mind. Now, what I do also want to tell you, I want to give you a little scenario, and this is to also give you hope, to let you understand that you can qualify. You may be counting yourself out and you may actually qualify for something. So I had a client last week. I may have told you the good news last week, but what I would say is this client spent years thinking she did not qualify for anything. Years living in the shadows, working menial jobs at the mercy of other people, thinking she had no hope. If without her spouse who abandoned her, who mistreated her and then abandoned her, she thought she had no hope. Well, my client now has her 10-year green card, right? And it started with a phone call. It started with a phone call where we went through her facts and I informed her about this thing called VAWA, right? I listened to what she had to go through and I told her about this thing called VAWA. And she didn't know what it was, didn't know that was an option, didn't know it was confidential, didn't know it offered her protection. And she had enough faith to do it. And within a day, she was my client and we were working on her VAWA case. My client got her work permit and her travel document. And I remember when she got it, she cried tears, right? Because when she got it, to her it signified something she never thought she could get, that she wasn't even qualified for, right? And she was able to, have some reassurance, have some stability, change jobs, travel to see her son. And now she is a 10-year green card holder. The next step is US citizenship. So that's just an example. If you have a spouse, and I know for a fact that there are people experiencing this worse than ever. And that is, you have a spouse who is now using this current climate to force you to comply with them, force you to give them money, force you to stay quiet because this climate is more hateful. It's causing more fear than ever. And yes, this current administration is are really honing into policies that are making people who don't have their papers feel trapped, right? And they feel like they're being crushed between a rock and a hard place. And so that spouse is probably using that to their advantage. And here's what I say. Yes, the current policies in place, I don't agree with. And of course, I don't agree with it. And it is cruel, it's inhumane. And I know if you've been watching the news, you've been seeing the horrific things that are happening right now. But the law states in statute, so this is not something that is optional. The statutes lay out protections for certain immigrants to gain protection. And this is why my client was able to get her tenure and why my other clients continue to get their 5-year work permits, because the administration, the USCIS, they still have to go by the laws that are on the books. Now, what we are seeing with the types of terminations to TPS, parole, those are based on discretion. And even those are being challenged, by the way. The courts are putting those on hold, terminations of the TPS, terminations of parole. The courts have been moving to put those on hold. But those, what I want you to understand is those are discretionary, meaning that the administration has the discretion they have a lot more discretion to terminate those programs, right? Because they are started and they are terminated at the discretion of the president or the attorney general. So that is the difference between VAWA, the T visa, asylum. These are all laid out in the statutes, right? And they have to still provide these benefits to immigrants who qualify. So don't count yourself out. There are options under the law. With all the chaos going on, you need to be centered and do what you can to get the right legal advice, to understand what your options are. We are doing free initial evaluations, and that helps us to understand whether you do qualify for one of the ways that we help our clients to get their papers. You can always give us a call. You can call right now, and then tomorrow we'll actually, or on a day that works for you, would actually do the initial evaluation. So go ahead and just make sure that you call. Don't count yourself out. Make sure that you're focused on solutions, right? Moving forward, solutions. Keep the faith. Keep doing the right thing, and focus on solutions. Don't let fear push you to not pursue things that you qualify for. So, for example, there are programs that you qualify for that may have a deadline. So, for example, let's go back to VAWA. If you've been married to a spouse and then you divorce them, and it's approaching 2 years since you've been divorced, you need to get on that. That's an emergency, because you only have up to 2 years to apply for VAWA, and it's gone forever after the 2 years. So this is why I say, and I've talked to people who they qualified, but guess what? We got to the final step. Okay, what date was your divorce? And it's like, oh my gosh. It's been a month since it's been 2 years, or a month ago, it was the 2 year anniversary of that divorce. And it's like, oh my gosh, we can't move forward with VAWA. You don't qualify, right? So this is just an example of how much you need to consider your options, but treat it urgently, because there are deadlines that can apply that can cause those options to be gone forever. So keep that in mind. All right. So I'm looking forward to answering your questions tonight. So I know you all probably have questions. So I'm going to scroll through. I'm starting with TikTok, then we'll do YouTube, then Instagram. So you'll see me looking in one direction. Please know that I'll work my way across as I address questions. If spouses haven't filed her tax returns for years, can I file my case with a joint sponsor? So yes, if your spouse hasn't filed their tax returns, they're going to ask those questions. They may not accept the affidavit of support, but they may, and it also may come down to the income. But not filing tax returns could be a potential problem. Having a backup joint sponsor may be the option here, but we have to really understand the facts to be able to fully advise on what to expect or what the options are. But usually, if the spouse does not qualify for some reason, you can get and usually though, it's not necessarily the failure to file taxes, it's usually the failure to meet the income requirement. But they do require the tax returns to be able to see the income. So that could, disqualify them if they don't have the tax returns to show the income in the past year, most recent year. And in that case, you'd have to use a joint sponsor. But here's the thing too that you need to keep in mind. Was your spouse qualified for tax? Because sometimes they don't have to file tax returns depending on the amount of income they made. If it's low enough, she may not even have had to file her tax returns. So this is where it's very important for us to evaluate the facts and then be able to advise. So please make sure you're doing that. Give us a call. Let's start with determining you qualify and get started to see how we can help. How can we move forward with your case? How can we facilitate that? And what I want to say now is it's definitely not going to be a simple process. Green cards, adjustment of status, family based, marriage based, every case is about to get more complex because they're really honing into these requirements, public charge issues, as well as fraud. So it's very important to make sure you are covered. How do you know if you are approved for a green card after the interview if they don't tell you? You'll get it updated or you'll get the decision letter in the mail. So if they don't tell you, you'll have to see it updated or look in the mail. Are the local judge denying case for court hearings? It depends on the court hearing. So no, I'm not hearing anything about. It depends. I don't know if you're talking about local judges or immigration judges, but business is moving forward as usual in immigration court. Now, if it's the local judge, they don't usually look too much at immigration. Maybe the federal court judge, in cases of mandamuses, but or writs of habeas, but or lawsuits regarding certain policies. But I don't know what this means about the local judge denying case here. So this is where it's very important to get legal advice. If you overstayed your visiting visa, do you have to do fingerprint and register? So, as of the last time I checked, those who entered with a visa don't have to register because as long as you did your fingerprint when you were doing your visa. So, in most cases, you had to give your fingerprint to get the visa. So the answer is no. So the people that do have to register are those who turn 14 within 30 days of their 14th birthday. So children and the parents have to register for the children. Those who came into the country without permission. Um, so that means that they came across the border, they came by boat uninspected. So no, they never did fingerprints, never stopped and got processed at the border. Canadians who plan to stay, I believe, longer than 30 days. So, yes, Canadians are now required to register, and they have to be registered, I believe, within 30 days of their entry into the United States. So, those are examples. And now keep in mind if you are somebody who came into the country without permission or you're just turning 14, at that point, you do have to apply for, you do have to register, even if you were applying for another benefit like TPS or DACA, you would still have to register again. So that's another thing. They have not exempted anybody who came on DACA or has DACA or TPS. So that's one of those things. 42 approved. How long does it take to get the green card? So it's going to take about another 2 years, and it also depends on what the wait times look like. But I would say 2 years. You are able to get your work permit while you wait. How long does VAWA take? And what if you have a pending I-130 and I-485 and being abused? Great question. So I'm going to read this again because it's important. And since we're on the topic of VAWA, how long does VAWA take? And what if you have a pending I-130 and I-485 and you're being abused? So if you're being abused, you do have the option to move over your process over to VAWA, and that is confidential. I've done it for my clients, and we've made a smooth transition from an I-130 process to a VAWA process. Now, what happens is immigration, USCIS is not going to notify your spouse and say, hi, we have moved your I-130 over to a VAWA. So we no longer need you. They just let the I-130 sit. But what we do is then we ask them, we show them the VAWA receipt notice, and then we say we would like to hold the I-45 in abeyance, which means hold it in place and attach it now to the VAWA. And when a decision is made on the VAWA, then the green card should be processed for VAWA and not based on the marriage, right? So make that switch. We have done it for our clients. You can give us a call. It's confidential and we can get started. So don't wait. Give us a call. Evaluate your options. I did have a dear client, and he was a man who did that. He's a 10-year green card holder now. And um, he was in a situation where his spouse did not lay a finger on him, but she was a nightmare, right? She realized his vulnerability was his immigration status, and she tried to force my client to basically go broke buying her things, and she would get into a tantrum of verbal abuse and demeaning him when he did not honestly have the money to do it, right? To purchase things that she wanted, to give her the money she demanded. She would verbally assault him, right? And now he's a green card holder, right? So it's not just protection for women, it's protection for men as well. So no matter what kind of relationship you are in, you just have to be married. You have to be legally married. You can apply for this. So keep that in mind. Does protective order affect green card application? It may. Yes, it may. I would say if the protection order is against you, it's time to give us a call or talk to your attorney. Let your attorney know. Thank you so much for the gifts, Hollery NYC. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. How long after filing for T visa do you get the work permit? So there are two things that you can keep in mind. So one is that when we apply for our clients, we apply for a work permit that they can get while they wait, and then once you get approved for a T visa, you get the work permit. That work permit right now is slow moving, and it's slow moving for everybody, all the attorneys right now. But what happens is they issue protection that provides if you're in removal, it puts a stay on removal. If you are not in removal, meaning detained or given notice to go to immigration court, you get protection from that. And you're able to carry on with that. It's called a bona fide determination letter. The next step, so many of my clients have been getting that letter, and that gives them the protection, and then they will get then they get processed for the work permit. So right now my clients are all in that process of waiting for the work permit, and it is slow. However, keep in mind it's time to apply now, because if you don't apply, you'll never get there. And I would say right now, the thing that our clients are most grateful for is the protection that the bona fide determination letter is giving them, the reassurance that is giving them to know that they have protection while they wait for their process. So that right now is the most important thing. And then, of course, waiting for the work permit. Now, there is a chance that a decision could come before the work permit comes. And in that case, once you get a decision and it's an approval, then it means that you're going to go straight to getting the work permit in the mail. Once approved, then you get the work permit. Sometimes we get the work permit before we even get the letter, and that tells us, which is a really nice surprise. Recently in the USCIS, ICE takes 10 immigrants who overstayed but have a pending case to marry. So I'd have to look for that. Now, I would say this. They're targeting people who have final removal orders. So if they took those 10 people, it's either final removal orders or some form of arrest, which the arrest can be for even minor offenses. So that's why, one, it's important to get legal advice before applying, to make sure that there's nothing that's of concern before you apply. And two, to make sure representation is very important here. So don't go into, that's why I said here, these processes are about to get a lot more complicated, and don't go into these blindly, because it's going to be more complicated. And I'm telling you that because I know it. I want you to really think about it and just be smart about your choices, whether to seek legal advice, how to be prepared. Make sure you don't go into this thinking easy peasy. I'm married to a U.S. citizen. Um, okay, so you have a bona fide letter from T Visa. Can you get real ID? What's next step? So the bona fide determination letter doesn't necessarily get you the real ID. You can always, and it depends on the state you're in. You may be able to get certain benefits, but you really do need to check the DMV to see if you have a bona fide determination letter. How whether it's a call the DMV. I would say check with the DMV to see, because it depends on the states. You do have states that they do provide benefits. Then you have some states that they're absolutely not. A bona fide determination letter is not going to get you that. So call the DMV to find out what they say. I got OPT approved this week. Should I be worried about it getting canceled with this new bill? That's definitely a concern. So the new bill is they're trying to terminate OPT. So that has not happened yet. You'll definitely know when it happens. And what they may do is not necessarily terminate you cold turkey, like to say everybody who got OPT is now terminated, but they may set a date for it to go into effect. And then from there on, students cannot apply for their work permits. So and when an OPT is, you get a work permit basically to work a year after you graduate from college, from your master's program or from your bachelor's program, and you get a year, and so that's usually standard. So they're trying to limit that and terminate it. So I would say, move forward as usual, and you'll definitely know, and I will definitely keep everybody updated. Now, join my newsletter, because what I am doing now is I am sending on a weekly basis. I am sending very detailed articles about what's happening, any policy changes, anything that you should know about, any consideration. So you can always go to the link in the profile, the link in the description of the video on Facebook, um, YouTube. Go to the link, the description in the video on TikTok. Make sure that you go to the link in the profile. Same with Instagram, and you'll be able to, once you go to the website, you can sign up for, I believe you sign up, provide your information, and that can help with the evaluation, because we do contact you to find out if you want to do an initial evaluation, but you'll also be able to get the newsletter automatically as well. I won asylum August 2024. I have an ICE check-in May 2025 before I won asylum. Is it safe to go? Yeah, I would say, no, I don't know your case. So you really need to talk to your attorney. Your attorney knows your case, and they definitely know the risk. I don't know if you use an attorney, but talk to your attorney. your attorney will tell you whether what this is going to look like, and your attorney may be able to contact ICE and let them know that a check-in is it really required because you now got your asylum approved. So that could also be what your attorney follows up on as well. Cost for the consult is $150. After you do the free initial evaluation and we determine that there is something we can help you with, then we go ahead and we schedule an appointment with one of our attorneys. And our attorneys, we work closely together. So here I am working to make sure that we can provide service to as many people as possible so that they can get protections. So that means that I am not as available, but I am still expanding to make sure that our attorneys can provide the best legal advice to you. So go ahead, schedule with one of our attorneys and do the free initial evaluation first, because that's going to help you to understand your options and help us to understand where we don't waste your money. We make sure that we can help you. And we're also offering legal advice regarding the registration. So you need a safe space to talk through what you're going through. We talk to you, we evaluate your options, but we also can advise you on what it's going to look like. What are the implications, what the risks that you need to take in mind, and what options do you have available. So keep that in mind. My lawyer just dropped case during the first meeting with judge. I'm so sorry. So I'm getting from this that your lawyer backed out. And lawyers with the lawyer withdrew, and lawyers do it for many reasons. I'm so sorry that that may be an inconvenience for you. But yeah, definitely you can always give us a call and go through an initial evaluation. We can determine whether there's something we can do to help pick up where that lawyer left off. But lawyers withdraw for various reasons. Some may be ethical reasons that they have to. I don't know what your case is, but I'm so sorry that that's happening. Recently, so we talked about the 10 people who is eligible for T visa. So I can spend all day here on the T visa, but what I'll tell you this. If you got into a situation, whether you've been here 20 years, whether you've been here 2 years, whether you've been here 5 weeks, you've gotten into a situation where someone made you feel trapped, made you feel like you couldn't leave a situation. And in the process of doing that, that person forced you to do acts against your will, to work, to do other things against your will. It's time to give us a call. Right. And even the prospect of that is abusive. The fact that somebody's forcing you to do something that you did not want to do. Examples could be so here's an example. You were living in Jamaica, and maybe the job market was really tough. And then you got a call that you saw as really you needed it, right? Somebody called you from abroad, maybe a friend had a link, or you were referred to somebody who was running a business or an agency, a so-called agency in the United States. And what they do is they recruit people to go and do caretaking jobs. And you talk to them and it sounds great. When you come, you're going to have one person that you're going to take care of. You're going to work 5 days a week. You're probably going to work maybe 8 to 12 hours a day, and you'll get those 2 days off every week. You'll get $500 a week. And yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be really easy. All you have to do is take care of them. Then they say, we'll pay for your ticket to come. All right. Sometimes they don't pay, but say this one agrees to pay for you to come to see you. And they, in addition to that, they tell you they're going to take care of all your work papers, right? So it's no biggie because you may have questions like, okay, well, am I going to get work papers? And they're like, no biggie, we're going to get you those work papers. We're going to get you they usually say we'll get you a work permit, or we'll get you some residence, we'll get you your green card. And you're just like, where is the downside of this, right? Where's the downside? And then you come at their expense, they pay for your ticket to come, and you end up in a facility that they told you take care of one person, you're taking care of 5 people by yourself. You're left there 24 hours a day with very vulnerable elderly people who need medication, need to be hand fed. Multiple of them need to be hand fed, they need to be bathed. They are not giving you the freedom to leave because, one, how can you leave? There's nobody there to relieve you. Two, if you left these vulnerable patients alone, something terrible could happen and you could end up in real trouble because you're seen as a caretaker. And then they're not paying you on time. Say the first paycheck, they skip the first paycheck altogether. They tell you, oh, that's the fee for giving you this job. And then the next paycheck is another 2 weeks late, right? So now you're 3 weeks deep and you're not being paid, right? Now you're working 24 hours. You should have been working 9 to 12, but you're working 24 hours because you have to wake up at night and clean the bed sores or turn the patient around, or the resident around every 2 hours. So you are not sleeping. Sometimes they wake up in the middle of the night and you have to, so you're a slave to this. Then you ask for those 2 days off and they tell you no, because there's nobody there to relieve you. So you are trapped, right? And guess what? They're the ones that made you come. So you don't have anywhere to go, right? You don't have, probably you may know some people, but they definitely don't have space for you, right? Then at that point, then they start to overwork you. They start to tell you clean, in addition to having 5 people when you should have one, they're telling you to clean, to cook, to even go outside and wash the driveway, right? Or wash the porch off, sweep the porch off. And then on top of that, they may be yelling at you, intimidating you, making you feel like if you leave, you're going to have some bad consequences coming your way. They're going to blacklist you. They're going to call ICE on you. It's not safe out there. So if you leave, good luck. You're going to be deported. Then they say, well, you could be deported because, remember, you weren't even supposed to be working here. And then you said, but what about that work permit? Oh, well, we can't do that again for you. That, my friends, is an example of trafficking, and my clients have been approved for it. So if you can relate to a situation like that, then, and it's invoking a lot of emotion in you. You may be watching this right now and you're going through this and you're feeling trapped. You're feeling like there's nowhere to go. We are a safe space. Give us a call and let's talk about what you've been through and get started. All right. So I just went through a very detailed example, but that's not the only thing. It's all different, but I gave you an example of one type of trafficking case scenario. If your EAD is active, 325, but if on the start date of job, they put in 125 on bank account. So I'm not sure what that's about. We definitely have to get into why you're asking that question. Good evening. I have a bona fide. So can I get the real ID? No. Is military parole in place affected by cancellation of the parole program? No, it's different. So military parole is different. If you're the immediate relative of a military member, then you can get military parole. So it's still there, but it's discretionary. Not everything is certain. Thanks for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Thank you. Recently in USCIS, ICE take 10 immigrants. So yeah, so in this case where they are getting people to interviews, so we just saw one permanent resident being arrested at his citizenship interview. So yes, and this is because this person, he's a Palestinian resident, and he had expressed his views about Gaza, the injustices in Gaza, and he is now in detention. So instead of getting his citizenship, he's in detention. And that goes to say that whether you're a green card holder or you don't have your papers, you're a student, they are revoking student visas left, right, and center. You need to not walk into these situations blindly because, bad things are happening and they're targeting all immigrants across the board. We're all in the same boat. All immigrants are in the same boat right now. Green card holders are struggling with whether they should travel because of the risks now involved. If I'm on OPT, I apply for adjustment of status because I got married. Can I still travel? Great question. I'm glad you asked. Because you cannot travel without a travel document under adjustment of status. So no, once you file adjustment of status and you leave, you could face rejection trying to come back in on that visa. So you definitely need to apply for a work permit and a travel document. And they'll issue another work permit connected to this adjustment of status through marriage with a travel document. I would say right now, be very careful about traveling, even on a travel permit. I did my matrix in February, but still haven't received my work permit as yet. Yes, so work permits taking 3 to 6 months from time of filing. Can you get Real ID with SSN and work permit? Yes, you should be able to get the Real ID. I'd have to look to see if it has a citizenship requirement. It shouldn't. But with a work permit and SSN, you can. I did biometrics in February, but still did not receive my work permit as yet. So answer that. So I'm going to rush through because I want to answer questions on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm going to go through really fast now. Okay. So if you scroll to the top of the screen, you'll see the number. How long does it take to get a work permit renewal? I would say it can take anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. Can you apply for a new DACA in Florida? No, DACA has been thrown out. So they're not doing DACA anymore. There are renewals for DACA, but not a brand new one. Can I still apply for adjustment of status? I'm 8 months asylee. So asylees can apply for adjustment of status, but keep in mind that they're going to go very, very slow on those. They have paused them and they're looking for fraud, they're backtracking. So this is where I say definitely get legal advice before moving forward. Can you travel internationally with a travel document with this administration? Great question. The risk is a lot higher. As an immigration attorney, I'm being very conservative about travel right now because anything can come up. And if you're turned around at the border, they have a lot of discretion to deny your entry and send you out, right? Send you back out. So definitely get personalized legal advice because I am just giving general information. When your I-130 is approved, an additional RFE from government for a name affidavit, should you be concerned? So it depends on why they're asking for that affidavit. Is there an issue where they're discovering information that wasn't previously disclosed? And could there be an implication of fraud or misrepresentation. So that I would be concerned. Definitely make sure you're consulting your attorney. Um, yeah, and what you just explained is really happening. Absolutely. It's happening every day. Absolutely. Do people come with ESTA need to register? So I have not seen anything, no, with ESTA. Now, if you're issued an I-94, the I-94 is exempt people. So if you come with an ESTA and you're issued an I-94, then that exempts you from registering. Okay. Can we keep both asylum and marriage base? Yes, but get legal advice before doing anything. I have my green card, but still my work permit is pending. Will USCIS send me a work permit or not? You don't need the work permit. You have your green card. So why would you need your work permit? Green card is much better than the work permit. Green card means you just have your green card and you can travel, work on it, do anything you want on this one card for however long. So you may have gotten the 2 year, you may have gotten the 10 year. Can we both? So if your client has grounds for T visa, but not the strongest, would you recommend filing no? So that's a good question. And that's where we definitely need to talk to you because then we talk about the risk you're facing personally and what do you have, what to look at the pros and the cons. So, for example, if you already have a removal order, for example, and now you have to look at, now you had an experience that actually qualified you for the T visa. I would say you at that point you don't really have much to lose. To go for it, right? Because this is the last hope after removal. And then I would say right now, if you qualify for an immigration benefit, it's so important to pursue it, but pursue it with knowledge about the risk, the pros and the cons, and we make sure we break that down. When your I-130 is approved, an additional RFE from government for name affidavit, should you be concerned? Yes, any RFE is going to be concerning for sure. Now I'm going to get to here. So I'm not sure. I got a negative from an immigration officer, then a second negative from an immigration judge, but I was released with parole. Do I have another chance for my asylum? It's unlikely. You can appeal it, the decision, but you usually have a limited time to file the appeal. So that's where it's very important to get legal advice. I need your help. Definitely get in touch with us. Go ahead, call the number that's on the screen, and then we'll get your information and give you a call back. Um, do Europeans that came with ESTA need to register? No. No. So you may have been issued an I-94, and that means you don't have to register. Can I travel with my green card? I would say be conservative, evaluate the risk. Definitely make sure you understand your risk before leaving. So I can't advise on how to respond to a T visa RFE just because that would be specific legal advice. But this is where it's definitely important for you to give us a call or strategize with your attorney for sure. Because um, Now, one thing to keep in mind, even though for your case, you should definitely work with an immigration attorney, but for reporting, it is not absolutely required, even though you may have reported, it's not absolutely required that the Department of Labor sign any certifications. All is required in some cases is the report. So if your RFE is addressing, whether you cooperated with DOL, Department of Labor, that's really going to come down to the facts here. Hello, Julie. This is, oh, thank you so much. It's we. I appreciate that. Um, I want to marry this man, but he's in Nigeria. How and will this work with Trump's new law? So it shouldn't affect marriage-based cases, but we're going to expect to see consular processing times get longer, which right now it's 2 years. Received RFE wanting to clarify labor abuse based application. They claim based on declaration, it seems more of a work violation matter rather than a severe trafficking case. So this is where I say this, do not do this on your own, because it is a process. And this is why I stress to my clients the reason sometimes we are very meticulous, right, with every detail, because it's sort of like we are prosecutors that are getting ready to, even though keep in mind, nobody's getting in trouble here, or in most cases, unless our clients want that. But it's like we are building the case. We're helping our clients to present their case, just like a prosecutor would present a case to a judge. It has to be solid, right? And sometimes, like for example, here it says based on declaration, it seems they're saying it seems more like a work violation matter than a severe trafficking case. And that is probably based on a declaration that may not, I haven't read the declaration, I can't give you personalized legal advice, but that declaration may not be as detailed as it needs to be to let the officer understand that this fits the criteria for trafficking, right? There are very specific criteria that have to be made. And so down to the incidents that you describe, it has to, those incidents has to be relevant to the trafficking. So something may have been described that if it's not explained properly may seem like, well, this is just a violation. So this is where I say it's important to get legal advice. Do not do this on your own. This is not just writing a paragraph and then sending and saying something bad happened to you, right? So in an RFE like this, it's going to come down to really know, because the RFE, by the way, one thing you need to know about the RFE is when you get an RFE, they are giving you a chance to make it right. They're giving you a chance to answer their questions so that they can then go on to possibly approve it. So this is where I would say the RFE is gonna be super important, and they're saying here they're not denying it because maybe there might be more information that you can give them that would help them to instead approve it. But these RFEs are very fact specific. Definitely give us a call if you need a consultation. The first step is to just do the initial evaluation. That helps us not to waste your time so that we can understand how we can help you, and then we can move forward with strategy from there. Can you file VAWA to get protection from your abusive US citizen spouse, even if you cross the border into the US? Yes, this is such an important question. Absolutely. That's exactly the function of VAWA, right? You are protected under VAWA. Even if you cross the border, you can still get this. So don't think that you have to put up with abuse because of the way that you came. You still are able to get that as long as you can show the other requirements of our, right? That you already said it, abusive US citizen spouse. So this is where it's important to get in touch with us and let's talk through what you went through and get started. This is the one case, one of those cases where they won't say, we need to see that I-94 or you won't be approved. You'll still get your green card, just as long as you're honest about the way you entered the US. I applied recently my VAWA EAD renewal. I don't get RFE anything last time. So how long does it take? Now my renewal is in, everything good. So I'd say 3 to 6 months. No, not 3 to 6. I would say 6 to 12 months for the VAWA, even with the renewal. In my account for N400, it says interview scheduled 3 weeks. When will USCIS send me the interview notice? You should be getting it really soon. But you can download the interview notice from your USCIS account. So it should be there. If you go to notices, I believe there's a section that has notices. Click on the notices and you'll see the list of all the notices they've sent, and you can print that as well. Just curious, if applied for T in March, do they give everyone bona fide determinations? So you're gonna have to wait a couple of months. Right now, the cases are taking 70 to 90 days. Let's see, my wife is F1 visa holder and our green card interviews in 2 weeks. Should she apply for her OPT now? Should she apply for her OPT after green card interview or just wait? No, I can't give you personalized legal advice. Make sure that you are applying for the OPT when it is due. Because if you miss that timeline or you miss that window, you could be in trouble, right, for OPT. So I would say it's important to make sure you definitely evaluate your options to make sure that that is permissible. But make sure you don't always have plan A, B, C, right? And I would say OPT is plan B, right? So even if something, God forbid, I'm praying not, but if something happens with a green card, or even if it takes them, suppose it takes them a while to decide on the green card after the interview, then OPT is still there as an option to maintain status. But keep in mind, this is not personalized legal advice. This is general information. It's going to be your responsibility to make sure that you get legal advice, personalized legal advice. If someone wasn't qualified for asylum and the person married to a citizen, what is the process? So how can I contact you? The number, let me see, the number came off. The number is going across the screen at the bottom. So you call that number, and the staff right now, we have 24-hour, 24/7 receptionists that answer the phone. And then they would be able to route you to the right person to be able to do an initial evaluation. That's going to just talk to you. First, figure out if you qualify, make sure that you do qualify for this marriage-based process, and then we go through strategy. That's where we really talk to you about what to expect, how to move forward, how we're going to move forward on your behalf. Hello there on Instagram. Thanks so much for your patience. All right. How long after biometrics does it take for a bona fide determination for the U visa? So I would say a year and a half is the timeline I'm seeing. But it's still worth pursuing it if that's your only option. I got married in December, but I'm also an international student. My visa expires in December. Do I apply for citizenship or work permit? So I think you mean residency. Don't confuse citizenship with residency, especially now, because they can, there's a whole thing if you think you're applying as a citizen and you're really applying for residency. Do I apply for a residency or work permit? You can apply for both. So if you're married to a U.S. citizen, let me see. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I got married. So I'm assuming you're married to a US citizen. So if you're married to a US citizen and just go for the adjustment of status and then get the work permit while you're applying for adjustment of status, and that should be okay. Don't wait though. Get on it. How can we do a change of status to an F1? So there is a process, but it depends on what visa you're coming from. Until what date can we register? It's 30 days of the date that you become eligible to register. So I would say right now it's 30 days from April 11th, because they said 30 days from the date you are required. Can I apply for religious-based visa while in asylum removal? It depends on your background. That might be a possibility, but it depends on your immigration background, um, when you came. So that we'd have to evaluate that in an appointment. Did biometrics for T visa, but no bona fide letter, should be worried. Receipt number is USCIS system. It takes a while to get that bona fide determination, so you shouldn't be too worried. Right now, too, I'm noticing receipt notices, and colleagues are also saying the same thing. Receipt notices are taking longer. If I filed I-751 with waiver, can I still qualify to be a US citizen at 3 years anniversary? Yeah, but before they give you a citizenship, they're still going to evaluate the green card. Sometimes they do it in one interview. You do the green card process first, and then they do the test. My brother wants to travel next month to get married. He's a green card holder. Should he still travel? I don't know what his circumstances are. I would say be very conservative, seek legal advice to see if that's advisable. What's his background? Green card holders who are have been arrested, who are currently going through a process, maybe going from 2 year to 10 year, who know, I mean, even though I hate to say this, because I really think that the client eventually these individuals are going to prevail in a legal action based on free speech, but even activism is a risk. Posting information that is contrary to what this current administration agrees to may be a risk. So it depends on what's going on in their background. Can one file for a no return home waiver on J1 after J1? Yes. The waiver to waive the 2 year foreign residency requirement, absolutely. Can I apply for adjustment of status if married to a green card holder and have approved I-130 and I-765? Get in touch with us. When it comes to being married to a resident, it's possible, but we have to understand. So there now we're looking at priority dates. When was the date that you applied for adjustment of status? When was your priority date? That's going to be very important here. So give us a call. Let's talk. Make sure you're on the right track. What does it mean when your case is transferred? Did biometrics from October and still waiting on EAD? It just means they're transferring the case based on workload. They're just balancing workload. Did biometrics for T, but no bona fide letter, should be worried. Depends on how long you did the biometrics. Right now, things are taking out longer. What does a pending I-90 mean? I had to apply for lost permanent resident card and temporary one expires in January. Who should I call? So pending I-130, I-190 means that you're asking for a replacement. If it expires in January and you didn't get an extension letter, you should go ahead and apply, go ahead and get an I-551 stamp in your passport. After EB-1A approval, I submitted I-485, I-765, I-131, USI received documents on the 23rd of March. No receipt of notification till now. What should I do? Not a VAWA, but an EB-1A. So this is extraordinary ability. And it really depends. Now, if you submitted everything correctly and you haven't gotten a receipt notice, did you track your package? If you tracked your package, you saw it was signed for, it's just a matter of waiting until they send it. Now, there are also other concerns. What's your priority date? Are you currently still maintaining legal status? That's also important here, because the EB-1A is just, it just focuses on your qualifications. it does not focus on things like your status. The I-485 is that process, and so that's where they'll make the decision. Um, my friend did N400 interview on 2/5/25. He has not received anything yet about his oath ceremony. He lives in PA. What do you suggest? So it's not unusual, although yeah, it's February 5th is kind of a long time. So we're going on more than 2 months. So you can always give them a call to figure out, make sure it wasn't sent to the wrong address, make sure everything is on track. Can I get VAWA without divorcing? Yes, that is possible. Absolutely. We'd have to find out what your facts are, but yes, many of our clients are still legally married to the spouse and they get VAWA. Can I file for religious petitions while on asylum? We'll have to look at your facts. I'm danger to travel back. So are you in danger to travel back? The risk is very high. So be careful, get legal advice before doing any travel. I'm planning to vacation by June. I have 2-year green card and my green card expires July 2026. I'll be out like 36 days and I have my son with same green card, same expired as mine. Definitely seek legal advice before you do any travel. When you're going from 2-year, well, you're not going from 2-year to 10-year yet, but we really need to talk to you about your background. Are there any increased, and talk to your lawyer as well, the lawyer that helped you to get your 2-year green card to make sure there are no increased risk factors involved. So be very careful about travel, even if you're a green card holder. How long would it take for me to get a green card? I just got married last December and I'm an international student. I would say 12 months right now. So 10 to 12 months. We're going to see processing times get longer as they do more fraud detection. I heard that some people get arrested during the interview. Does it apply to everyone at the interview? No. So these are individuals with, they're wanted by ICE, they have pending removal orders, or they have a criminal record. Yes, we can see now they're going to detain people with even minor criminal records. So what I would say is you have to evaluate your risk. If you have any criminal issues, I don't care how minor it is, we're seeing people detained. Even getting their rights taken away from them to go to criminal court to clear their name. They're being detained and deported for things. We're especially seeing that for students. So make sure that you understand whether that risk is there. If it's there, that means, you have to understand to what extent you'll face a risk of detention. But this is not happening at all AOSs. I would say it's a minority of AOSs, but they're focusing on certain people. So, how can someone book to speak to you directly? So, at this time, what we do is I do have multiple attorneys who work with me closely to make sure that we're are providing the legal advice and we're doing the extent of detailed consultations that we need to do. And because I'm really expanding on the firm, making sure we can help as many people as possible, um, I'm focusing on helping my attorneys give you the legal advice. So go ahead and book, and you'll talk to the attorneys. And then once we come up with a strategy, I'm the one that's also working closely with my team, and you'll see that time and time again, our clients talk about the team, and I work closely with them to be able to make sure that our clients' cases are being filed and they're filed properly, and they have everything in there to help our clients to succeed. So book with our attorneys. The attorneys work with me closely to make sure that we are helping as many people and advising our clients. How long does it take? How long does it take for I-130 married to U.S. citizen? Consular processing prior to date March 2024. No update. So I-130, I would say 9 to 12 months. And then to get the interview at the embassy, about a year and a half to 2 years. Unfortunately, consular processing is taking much longer. How long did it take for her to get? Okay, so this took our client 3 years to get to the green card. But keep in mind that my client was able to move forward with her life, make progress, get a better job, move forward in ways that she never imagined. And this is a VAWA client, because she was able to get her work permit and her travel document that made her life really a lot easier while she waited for the green card. And boy, did those years go by very quickly. Can a US citizen apply for their parents if they are overstaying? Get in touch with us, let's talk. Overstaying a visa, yes, that it is still possible, but we would need to understand the facts fully. Generally speaking, US citizen, 21 or older, sponsoring parents, even if they overstayed, it's fine. Someone from Brazil has a citizen from the last 2 years. Is any risk people lose citizenship? It's possible. So now keep in mind, this is not widespread, but we're just, 4 months into this administration. We have heard talks about, you know, um, reviewing past applications and stripping people of citizenship if there's any proof of wrongdoing or fraud. But let me give you some perspective on this. I think in the last 20 years, maybe 200 cases have been brought. It's very hard to do. And it's a process. They can't just strip you. So they can't just arrest you and say they're take you to immigration court. They have to file a petition in federal court to strip you of citizenship, and they have to show proof. And you'll have the ability to also object to that proof and show evidence contrary to what they're doing. So it's rare. It can happen, and we might see an increase over the next 4 years of them. It's called denaturalizing citizens. How does someone who was married to a person with T status get the green card after divorce? So they lose their ability. Now, if you got T status, then you're divorced. So if before the person you got T status, then you are looking for the green card, you would have to get the green card with your spouse or not at all. So if you're divorced, T status would not be an option for you anymore independently, because if you're a derivative, it means sorry, it means you do have to get it along with your spouse who got the T visa. Do I need a police record? No. I think you might be referring to the T or the VAWA. No police record is required. How long does a work authorization period take to process? I'd say 6 to 12 months for VAWA, 3 to 6 months for adjustment of status, family or marriage base. My name is Pamela. I came here by fiance visa K1. I'm married to husband for 90 days. I'm so sorry. Absolutely. I'm so sorry you have to be going through that. You absolutely could qualify for VAWA. So this is a VAWA case. So get in touch with us and we can definitely talk. And also talk to the shelter about any referrals, emergency referrals, to help you get further support. So definitely, I'm so sorry, but VAWA is an option here. So keep that in mind as you put your life together and you escape the situation. That's priority. Safety is priority. So on your I-485 on your I-485 from your mistake, put B2 visa. When you come here on a K1 visa, how can you correct it? So there is a form for typographical errors, and sometimes you can find it in your USCIS account. So that's one way, or just contact them in writing and let them know. Can health insurance debt or traffic violation tickets affect naturalization? Traffic violations, they may ask some questions about that. Insurance debt, not supposed to, no, unless it led to an arrest or something. How can a person divorce from persons through court? Here, you'd have to file a petition for divorce. Is it safe to file for a parent who is already in the country? Yes. If they qualify, absolutely. It's definitely better than having them here without their papers and possibly getting snatched by ICE and sent out. You definitely want to file that to make sure they get their protection. What if the EOIR website not showing a court date, but you might have one? What to do, how to check? So yeah, the EOIR website is a good start. Sometimes there's a number you can call also to verify. Is VAWA something safe to do right now? Absolutely. Our cases are moving forward as usual. So absolutely, you qualify for it. Please make sure you get it. These are types of protections that they have to process. If you qualify for it, you are able to get protection under the law. All right, that's going to be it from me. Thanks everybody for your time. I really appreciate the love, the gifts, the shares. Make sure you do that. Make sure you share the live. Make sure you like the live so that other people can see this information. They can come on, they can ask questions, and they can be empowered by the information I'm sharing, because that's the goal. Through this, what I say and what has worked is faith. Faith in knowing you walk through the fire, you will get to the other side. It will get better, but we have to walk through the fire in some cases. So have faith, focus on the positives, focus on the solutions, focus on the options, and let's just get this done, right? Because these are challenging times, there's no doubt. It's scary times, no doubt. But there are legal solutions, and that's how I'm able to make a difference, is by using the legal solutions that we have available that are not optional. These laws are there to protect immigrants, and they're required. So the way to start is come to us. Let's talk about what you're going through and determine whether one of these are available, and then we can move forward with a strategy. So get in touch. I'm ready to find those solutions for you and to help. All right. So let's walk through the fire. Let's keep our faith. Let's know that we're good people and we stick to the law. We comply with the law. We do everything we're supposed to do as good people in the community. We keep that faith. We'll get to the other side. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Bye bye.